Good morning to everyone gathered for this important global summit on occupational health and music. I'm Stephen Gange, Executive Vice Provost for Johns Hopkins and a Professor of Epidemiology at the Bloomberg School of Public Health. While I deeply regret not being able to join you in person today, I'm grateful for the opportunity to address you virtually. To all participants, whether you've traveled across the globe or joined from your home institution, welcome to this groundbreaking event that brings together experts dedicated to improving health outcomes for musicians. The convergence of so many disciplines here, medicine, music education, performance, psychology, and public health, speaks to the complex and multifaceted nature of musicians' health. This interdisciplinary approach is precisely what makes this summit so valuable and potentially transformative for the field. I want to express my profound gratitude to Dr. Chris Chesky for his vision and leadership in organizing this summit. For decades, Dr. Chesky has been at the forefront of research on musicians' health, challenging conventional wisdom, and pushing for evidence-based approaches to prevention and treatment. His dedication to advancing the field has created this invaluable opportunity for collaboration and knowledge exchange, and we are grateful to have him as one of our interdisciplinary Bloomberg Distinguished Professors here at Johns Hopkins. My thanks also extends to the entire organizing committee and logistics staff who have been working hard behind the scenes to coordinate this complex international event. I'm particularly delighted that this meeting is supported by the Nexus Awards, a university-wide initiative launched in 2023 to support convening, research, and teaching anchored at the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg Center. The Nexus Awards' commitment to interdisciplinary collaboration aligns perfectly with the cross-cutting nature of this summit, which bridges the arts, medicine, and public health in such a meaningful way. This summit holds special significance for me, both as a public health researcher and as a parent of a musician. My daughter Lizzie began her violin journey at age 4. Wide-eyed and enthusiastic about making music, and with tremendous encouragement and training from the Peabody Preparatory here in Baltimore. Like many young musicians, she progressed through the years with dedication and growing skill. However, during her high school years and into her undergraduate performance program, she faced a significant challenge with tendinitis that threatened to derail her musical aspirations and identity. I still vividly remember those days when she would come home from practice, her face drawn with pain and worry, unable to continue playing a piece at her expected high level. What followed was a winding and often frustrating journey through a healthcare system that, despite its many strengths, frequently lacks the specialized knowledge needed to treat musicians effectively. As many of you know all too well, finding appropriate care for musicians presents unique difficulties. Standard medical approaches often fail to address the specific demands placed on musicians' bodies. Physical therapists, while well-intentioned, may have little experience with the specialized movements and stresses involved in playing specific instruments. And the emotional toll, the anxiety, identity crisis, and fear that accompanies performance-limiting injuries can be as devastating as the physical symptoms themselves. I witnessed firsthand how Lizzie struggled not just with pain, but with the psychological impact of being unable to express herself through her instrument. I saw her question her future, her choices, and her abilities during this challenging period. As a parent, it was heart-wrenching to watch her navigate these waters without adequate professional guidance specific to her needs as a violinist. Through my lens as a public health researcher, I recognized how perfectly this issue aligns with frameworks we commonly use to address health challenges. But these weren't just academic concepts. These became kitchen table conversations with my daughter and heartfelt discussions with her teachers and healthcare providers. During those challenging times, we talked extensively about prevention, how her earliest violin teachers had emphasized proper posture and hand position, but perhaps hadn't fully connected these techniques to long-term physical well-being. We questioned whether her instrument setup, from shoulder rest to chin rest, truly accommodated her physical structure. These weren't abstract discussions, they were urgent conversations about saving her musical future. Later, I was deeply grateful when her conservatory introduced her to the Alexander technique, a method developed in the 1890s in the UK that added to her toolkit to address the body awareness and movement patterns that were contributing to her injuries. When the pain began, our focus shifted to mitigation strategies. I remember sitting with Lizzie and her teacher, mapping out new practice schedules with deliberate rest patterns. We researched and experimented with ergonomic adaptations. Some worked, some didn't. Her teacher became a crucial ally, helping her recognize the early warning signs of strain before they escalated to debilitating pain. These weren't merely clinical interventions, they were deeply personal adaptations that affected her daily routine and relationship with her instrument. If injuries flared, finding the right treatment became our mission. We consulted multiple specialists before finding providers who truly understand that rehabilitating a violinist isn't the same as treating a typical patient. The most effective therapists were those who watched her play, who understood the specific movements of bow arm and fingering hand and recognized that just rest it wasn't a viable solution for a serious music student. These weren't just healthcare visits, they were collaborative, problem-solving sessions focused on returning her to the art form she loved. I'm relieved and overjoyed to share that Lizzie's story is ultimately one of success. Through persistence, appropriate care from specialists who understood her needs as a musician, and adaptive techniques that allowed her to continue playing while healing, she overcame her injuries. She learned to recognize early warning signs and to adjust her practice habits and to incorporate stretching exercises into her daily routine. Most importantly, she found healthcare providers who truly understand the physical and emotional dimensions of being a musician, professionals who saw her not just as a patient with tendinitis, but as an artist whose very identity was intertwined with her ability to play her instrument. In fact, the reason I cannot join you today is because I am attending the graduation ceremony for her master's degree in violin performance at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland in Glasgow, a milestone that seemed uncertain, even impossible, during the darkest days of her struggle with tendinitis. Her journey, from injury to recovery to thriving as a performer, stands as a personal testimony to the importance of the work you are all doing. But for every success story like Lizzie's, there are countless others who don't find their way to appropriate care. Many young musicians abandon their instruments and their dreams due to preventable or treatable conditions. Professional musicians often perform through pain, risking their long-term health and shortening their careers. Music educators may perpetuate problematic techniques simply because they lack awareness of healthier alternatives. The economic and cultural costs of these losses are immeasurable. How many brilliant musical voices have been silenced prematurely due to preventable injuries? How much artistic potential remains unrealized because we haven't adequately addressed the occupational health needs of musicians? This is why your work matters so profoundly. By advancing our understanding of occupational health in music, you are ensuring that millions of players worldwide, from young students to professional performers, will benefit from new insights, preventative approaches, and effective treatments. As you engage in discussions, share research findings, and forge new collaborations over the coming days, I encourage you to keep in mind the real human impact of your work. Behind every data point is a musician, like my daughter, whose ability to create art, to express themselves, and to contribute to our cultural landscape hangs in the balance. Your collective expertise represents our best hope for creating a future where musicians can pursue their art without sacrificing their health, where technique and wellness are taught hand in hand from the beginning, where performance venues and instrument designs consider human factors, and where specialized healthcare for musicians is readily available and informed by the latest evidence. Thank you for your dedication to this vital cause, and I wish you a productive, inspiring, and transformative gathering at our wonderful Hopkins Bloomberg Center here in Washington, D.C. Though I cannot be with you physically, I am with you in spirit and purpose, and I eagerly anticipate the positive changes that will flow from your important work here. Have a great summit.